Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Social Justice. I am your host, Wendy Nystrom. Today's special guests are co-founders of a company called Strongsuit. I have Kerri, Derksen, and Jamin Pursell, so welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Anytime. So what is, well, let's actually start with, how did you two meet?
Well, we met, probably about 15 years ago already. My husband actually is a university professor, and Jamin was one of his students. And I guess we kind of met at the university, and over time we just sort of kept hanging out and talking about things, and we had a lot of common interests. And so I guess technically that's how it happened.
Yeah, it was, she was working in the city. We're in the Bay Area. So she was working in the city, and I would go over to the house all the time and hang out. And yeah, it was, I was always fascinated with what she was working on, and, realized she was a genius very quickly. And so when we were, when I was talking about this idea I had, she was like, jumped on board very quick.
I hear what you're saying, and this, and then it's sort of ping pong back and forth, because the idea of Strongsuit's actually, the idea has been batted around for years already, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, we started in earnest with developing what we have now probably about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. When COVID kind of derailed everything, we sort of said, hey, we've got some time on our hands. Let's see if we can make this dream a reality. But the conversations had been happening well before that.
Yeah.
And I loved, Jamin, you had actually commented it was pool anxiety. Could you explain, the birth of Strongsuit came from pool anxiety. Can you explain to what that means?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's probably something that I could have put a phrase to it, but everybody has probably felt at some point. So when I grew up, I was like the kid who always had a t-shirt on at the pool. I was actually like strained being thin, but I just didn't ever feel like super comfortable essentially walking around in underwear all the time when you're at the pool. And really where it came about, the idea of Strongsuit was I had donated my kidney. So I had scars. I looked like I had lost a knife fight, which I did with the doctor. And I was like, I don't know why it's so hard to find something that made me feel comfortable. And so I was like, screw it. I've always really had this aesthetic that I was really interested to develop. And so I was like trying to find a way to be able to create that. So I found a historic pattern, and I was reaching out to anybody who I knew was a genius at a sewing machine. And Kerri was like, I can probably do that for you if you're interested. And I was like, yeah, please. So I gave her the pattern, and we picked out fabrics, and then she was when she was looking over, she was like, this is nice. And then she made her own pattern, and she redid kind of a lot of adjustments, and then made the first iteration, which was brilliant. And then she was like, I kind of like this, but I feel like I could do it better. And then she did, and she made one for my husband. And then she was like, okay, this is nice. We're getting there. And then she made a third iteration. And then that was really where we went to Hawaii together, and we took some photos. We kind of workshopped it in the Pacific, and we were chatting about it. And then the pandemic hit, and we were able to kind of really take a moment to sit down and go, so this actually is kind of really could be something. Absolutely. And so that was kind of the birth. And the pool anxiety was really just about trying to feel like you're not so exposed, not so that vulnerability that you feel when you're feeling very everything is form fitting. Everything is very hugging every contour of your skin. I mean, even if you are in decent shape, but you're not an athlete, you sometimes just feel like, why is this elastic so rough?
Yeah. And even for people that occasionally are comfortable in more revealing swimwear, there are days when maybe you don't feel empowered and you don't feel confident, and you still maybe want to be out by the water, right? as a mom, like I have 2 kids, and there are times when I just want to be out there playing with my kids. I don't want to be worrying about a wardrobe malfunction. I don't want to be worrying about playing or run around catching a ball, picking up my kid and having something slip. So I just want to be comfortable and confident and able to play by the water. And everybody, I think, has these anxieties when they put on clothing that isn't what they wear every day. It's not they're outside of their comfort zone. So I think everybody experiences that water anxiety to a degree, you know, just seasonally, because we're used to wearing winter clothes and then we segue back into our summer clothes. And so we've been away from them for a little while. And so I think to a degree, sort of everybody feels that, even if they present as really confident most of the time. I think it's just something everybody experiences.
Yeah. But I would also think, you know, I like to be very active in the water and do things. And if you're wearing a bikini or something skimpy, you got choices to make of holding on to stuff when the waves hit. And, you know, behind Kerri right now are some examples of their suits. That's not going anywhere. That's staying in place. You can thrash and crash around and you don't have to worry about, as Kerri said, a wardrobe malfunction.
Well, and also like there's this expectation of grooming that is expected of certain people. And like,
thank you, God. You are doing God's work.
What kind of hot nonsense is that? Like, really? Like, it's just even like a standard one piece comes up really, really high on the thigh. And like, I don't know. I mean, yes, there are people who need that level of like, you know, because they're athletes and stuff like that. But like, that's not 90% of, I don't think, most people at the water. Most people are just looking to have a good day and not feel like they have to cover up or have a coverall or have a second suit or put a pair of trunks or something, blah, blah, blah. All the other things they have to do to try and feel comfortable.
It should just be something fun. And, you know, and it's for everybody. And it's gender fluid, correct? This is for everybody.
We say it's gender neutral. Like, you bring your gender to it.
Yeah.
You know, we as a person who I have always been kind of in the spectrum of gender presentation. I just have always thought that, like, why is there like trying to be like gendered clothing? Like there's, you know, women wear pants. We all have t-shirts. Who doesn't love the ability to just like know that you're going to find something that's like going to allow you to bring whatever you want to express at that moment to it. So that's kind of what the initial start off point was. And then as well, like as a member of the �LGBT_QI+ community, I was like, I want to make sure that this is something for everybody. So we actually made sure to put in various different features that were going to be very helpful to people to not have dysphoria. So one thing is like having wider straps. So if you are using a prosthetic under the chest region or a binder or whatever you might have in there, or not, you will have support. It's a soft support that will hold it. Has a packer pocket. So if you would like to utilize that to be able to express your gender. And, you know, as well, we tried to make sure that it was something that was going to, the tunic top is a little bit longer. It goes right below the crotch line. So like many people who are have meat in the basket, so to speak. When you're wearing like a wetsuit or a dry suit, like it is, again, very form-fitting. And that level of exposure is uncomfortable, at least to me. And so it was like trying to find the various different ways to help smooth out those sort of things and make it so that they're not like the prominent display of the garment, but allow the person's personality, the person's comfort to be on display.
Yeah. Not everybody wants to display the full assets.
Yeah, you know.
We tried to be inclusive with not only the features, but the sizing, just because we did want to bring swimwear to everybody who's hesitant. So we have a huge range of sizes. And when we were in development, we tried this on so many bodies, you know, from really, really tall, like outlier tall, thin bodies, to people who were smaller stature, but a lot wider, you know, pear-shaped, round, rectangular. We ran this thing through the ringer, really trying to get it on as many bodies as possible. And even though, you know, at the end of the day, we may not be bookending everybody. There's always going to be somebody who maybe doesn't quite feel satisfied with the fit. I mean, we have such a huge range that we tried it onto, and we can pretty confidently say that we fit most people.
And, you know, and that's actually fantastic because, you know, in a current retail world where women are kind of shoved into small, medium, or large,
Right.
I mean, men get a little more advantage of different sizing, but we're kind of shoved into 3 categories, and maybe you'll have extra small, maybe you'll have extra large. So
or you have
having
a special shop.
I'm sorry?
Or you have a special shop that you have to go to, and like that's even
yeah.
like then it becomes like its own thing where you can't just buy your normal brands, you have to buy special brands.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, people who are maybe lacking a little confidence or feeling a little wary about themselves, that's gut-wrenching. Everyone should be able to get what they want, how they want, when they want.
Well, and further to that, we have a proprietary sizing system that involves color sizes rather than small, medium, or large, just to remove the stigma associated with, you know, I want to be a small or a medium, but I'm actually a 3X, right? Like that traditional. So now we have color sizing, and we have a whole spectrum of colors. We call it our true to hue sizing system. And we have our own proprietary chart where you go in and you kind of find what color size best suits you. So you might be a blue, you might be a green, you might be a maroon, but that doesn't mean anything relative to anybody else. So it takes that stigma away, which is really difficult when you're shopping for something like swimwear or intimates or, you know, things like that, to sort of live up to those stigmas, those established opinions.
Oh yeah. I remember.
I was going to say the only thing that we want people to feel extra is their personality.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember as a teenager trying on bathing suits. You know, every winter you go in and you try and, mind you, winter growing up in Michigan, you're not exactly in great shape. Okay. And you're going in the dressing room and you need to get a new swimsuit, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Especially at that age where you're super hypercritical of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if what you guys offer were offered back then, I think you'd have a lot more people that have less anxiety.
Yeah.
Certainly around the water. Yeah.
And it's just self-image also. Mm-hmm. I mean, they would just be like, hey, this looks good on me. This works for me. I'm comfortable. I can do activities. I mean, that was another thing is, you know, you lay out, don't move, you'll shift.
Honestly, that was me. Like for the longest was like, I would be the person who would hang out at the beach, but I would never really go in the water because then that meant like a whole level of like exposure that you're just like, okay, well, I guess we'll go to the beach, but like I'm not getting wet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so moving on to like the beach and the clothing, the materials, you actually focus a lot on ethics and sustainability, which most people kind of gloss over that, to be honest with you. So how are you guys focused on those aspects?
Well, we really wanted to make sure our ethics carried through the entirety of our production. Everything from how the fabric is made to how it is dyed to how it is produced. You know, Kerri, you can really speak to the materials themselves.
We well, after we had our design, as Jamin said before, he actually got a historic pattern, and we started right at, you know, we went to the source. We looked at 1920s swimwear, which at the time they made it out of wool because they didn't have technical fibers. They didn't have spandex. They didn't have, you know, polyester or synthetic fabrics back then. They had wool. Anyway, we needed to find a really great fabric that would work really well for Strongsuit, but we knew also that we didn't want to leave a really big footprint. We wanted to be, you know, ethical with our sourcing. So we ended up finding a company that uses recycled water bottles in their fabric. It's actually called, the brand name is Repreve. And they are 100% recycled, sustainable. They use, Repreve is actually a blend of, technically it's polyester. It's a type of recycled polyester that's blended with a type of spandex called Creora spandex, which spandex is actually a very weak fiber. So that's why usually if you buy a swimsuit for a season, by the end of the season, it's baggy and it's getting a little weird.
It just goes, it evaporates.
Yeah, so Creora spandex was created with technology that allows those fibers to be much more durable. They're super chlorine resistant. They don't, they have a lot more wear in them than what traditional just spandex would have. So, so we found this Repreve fabric that's blended with the recycled polyester and the Creora spandex. We thought, oh, this could be sort of, this is our fabric. The hand of it is beautiful. It's soft, it's smooth. So right away we knew this was the one we wanted. So that's how we ended up with fabric.
And like there are other like recycled fabrics, but like the thing is that we really like looked for the company itself, like they are working to be carbon neutral, water neutral. They're going to be doing that by 2025 and 2030. Same with our printers. The people who do the sublimation printing, they are going to be water neutral, and they are using we're also working towards their carbon neutrality for their entire factory. And this goes back even then to our manufacturers. Like as an extension of our ethics, like there's a lot of exploitation within the fashion industry, and we wanted to make sure that we are having people who are paid well, who are able to sustain themselves and their families, and that are not going to be in like a horrible like sweatshop or anything like that. And we really found this beautiful company that is supporting supporting women who are mothers and are grandmothers, and allows them very flexible hours, and provides meals and benefits above the union levels. And it was something that like was really important to us, and that made a big difference, because if you're going to start a company, you oftentimes have to make a lot of concessions. And while we would have loved to make them in America, unfortunately, America has not been really supportive of manufacturing, of the garment industry, and of avoiding exploitation, and being environmentally conscious.
The factory that we use, they have a wonderful program for utilizing fabric scraps. Like they use anything that's cut off of the fabric pieces gets repurposed, often for charitable products. Like when we were there, we actually went over to we manufacture in Vietnam, and we actually went over to Vietnam to verify everything that that we were hearing, and we wanted to see it firsthand and make sure that we were really sure that these people were aligned with our ethics and sustainability vision. So we went over there, and it blew both Jamin and I. It blew our minds how marvelous these places were. Like the big sunlit, beautiful open air factories. Everybody's smiling and laughing. They're like a big family, and they invited us into their family and showed us around and gave us the full tour. But yeah, at the time we were there, they were repurposing scraps for children's toys. So for areas around Vietnam, they were making these like scrap dolls out of the remnants from what was left over from the Strongsuits. And that was at every level. Like when we went over to the sublimation printer, which again is in that region, we saw the process of how they did the sublimation printing, which actually textile printing and dyeing is a super toxic, like there's a lot of people that come out of that industry. So what we opted to do, as I mentioned, was sublimation printing, which basically involves digital printing onto the fabric, and you only print the pattern. So the shape that you're cutting out, it's not that you print the entire yardage and then cut the pattern out of that. It saves a ton of ink, it saves a ton of effort and resources. And it's all the inks that we use were all environmentally friendly inks as well. Really at every level, we had to check in and make sure that we were being conscientious of the environment and of our vision for the company. So, and like I said, we were really pleasantly surprised when we went over there.
And I would say even further that like one of the things that was really wonderful about being able to find these companies really close together is that, of course, shipping and transportation of all these materials back and forth can actually, again, that can hugely increase your carbon footprint. Whether if you're shipping them into multiple different countries, when you're having to take them across the ocean, we would like from the manufacturer of the fabric to the dye to the factory itself that produces it. Everything is within a very streamlined, very within the country of Vietnam. But then even when we shipped it over, we created our idea of how to avoid all the plastic that is necessary, that often you see in a lot of manufacturing. So we have a wash bag that we have that are all color coded to the size. So that way you can look at the wash bag and know exactly what the size is, but as well, like the wash bag helps with maintaining the integrity of the garment so it can last even that much longer. And then all of that, we tried to find as much packaging as possible that was biodegradable, and tried to avoid as much any waste plastic as possible. Just every step of the way, we wanted to make sure that we're trying to be as ethical as possible, because especially with manufacturing, there can be so much waste, and all that waste ends up being pushed to the next generation and somebody else's problem. And we wanted to make that our problem now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that you guys have thought every aspect of this through. I've spoken to many other people in the retail world, and they'll focus on sustainability with respect to, are the materials recyclable? Are we using less water? You guys have gone full circle with not only materials, how it's made, the printing ink, but then the people. Most people with sustainability, for some reason, the people just forget about that part, which is a very important aspect. Fair wages, making sure and the zero waste aspect that they're doing in that facility.
It's marvelous.
It's fabulous, and we have lessons to learn over here from that. And unfortunately, we're kind of stuck in our own political mire, so we're a little ways off from getting there ourselves. But you found the solution, you found the way. And then your packaging materials, again, a lot of people, they forget about the packaging materials. They're like, oh, we can't control that part. You can.
Yeah.
We actually had a conversation with our factory. They were all for it because, like I say, we have an aligned vision with the factory. And so we were discussing, okay, well, I remember when I was a teenager and I worked in a retail clothing store, and you'd get clothes coming in. Every one of them was in those individual poly bags. You'd have to take it out, you'd throw it out, and you'd end up with this big garbage bag full of plastic.
I did that as well. I know what you're saying.
All right. And I'm like, we do not want that. So that's where the vision of the wash bag came in, because we are part of the slow fashion movement. We want, these garments to last a long time. We have strong fibers. We want to, have this garment for multiple seasons, not just a single season. So the wash bag made sense in terms of promoting that from a care perspective, but also we need a bag to ship it in. Let's ship it in the laundry bag. Why should we ship it in a polyester bag, like a polycellophane bag, when we can just ship it in the actual laundry bag? The factory's like, that's a great idea. And then they did the further step. They said, how about when we pack them in containers to ship them, we also use compostable liners, because you do have to have a moisture barrier, when you're shipping across the ocean. So they say, we can arrange for compostable liners. We can have those within the carton. And then rather than packing everything individually into plastic, they're already in the wash bags. We'll just put them into the compostable liner and then the carton, and we're done. So everything was completely biodegradable, shipping it across the ocean.
Absolutely brilliant thought. I mean, just the full circularity that you've brought this around. How do people find you? Where is the best way they can buy your product?
Well, so I will say we did a Kickstarter, and we were able to, within 23 days, raise $10,000 from the support that we got. And what was that?
A successful Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. Successful Kickstarter. But now we're on our website, and it is your-strongsuit .com. And you can find us on the web. We're as well on, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok a little bit, although we're a little old, so we're a little slow on TikTok. But I will say that we try as best we can. But yeah, your-strongsuit.com. And, honestly, we really hope that, as we're continuing to go forward, we hope to get into the actual shelves of retail stores and swim stores and all that sort of stuff. But that's a little far off at the moment, but we're online, and
you're scaling.
Yeah, we're a fashion company. We're working really hard to get the name out there. So we really appreciate you having us, Wendy, and keep your eyes peeled for Strongsuit.
Yeah.
Thank you. And, just for closing comments, guys, if you want a suit that you're comfortable in, that you can actually be active in, that you can swim and play and, play in the water and not worry about a wardrobe malfunction, and the material, for people who don't understand slow fashion, it's the opposite of fast fashion. It's something that's durable the way it should be. It should last more than one season. Check out Strongsuit. Check out what these guys are doing. It's amazing work. And not, maybe you rock that swimsuit and you look awesome. God bless you. But everyone has a day where you just don't feel it and you just want to put on something comfy. I'm in sweatpants right now. I am living proof of that. So check out Strongsuits, your-strongsuit.com. Make sure you put that your in front of there. And thank you guys both. Thank you, Jamin. Thank you, Kerri. You guys have been wonderful guests today. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Take care, guys. I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.